I should have probably made this video way earlier, but we're going to make a quick video about what your rotation is as a warrior and the priority. You've basically got one rage dumper, which is going to be no pain mainly, and then your rotation is going to be a bit based off of how much damage you're going to do and how much you're actually going to have to put down into mitigation, into like no pain and so forth. But that is basically the only thing that is going to alter your rotation. We're going to start off with a single target rotation, which is going to be basically prioring shield SAM uptime. So I start off with going in shield SAMming, and then I just use both Revenge and Thunderclap. That was wrong. Should prio Thunderclap over Revenge, especially with Avatar up. And just whenever you have enough rage, you dump it into no pain. And whenever you get a reset, you throw a shield SAM. You don't use Thunderclap. It's very important on single target to not use Outburst on Thunderclap. You can dump rage more often than I am now. Like if you've got shield SAM coming up or any other rage gainer, you can do a doubling no pain rather than one. Just like this, and then again. Down here you can see what the rotation is like. This is just pure single target without anything extra whatsoever. Now we're going to switch over to AoE, which is basically going to be damage wise, it's going to be based around Revenge and Thunderclap, and that's all you want to care about. Shield block uptime obviously, but then again, if you need mitigation, it would be just as simple as this. Demo Shout on CD, Thunderous Roar on CD. So you would just rotate between Revenge, Thunderclap. If you're rage starving, you do a shield SAM. But the more realistic way to do it is to just rotate Thunderclap shield SAM and dump the rage into no pain, and then go use Revenge for resets. Obviously you would prio Thunderclap above the shield SAM unless you're taking heavy damage and you would need more rage to dump it into more no pains or shield blocks or whatever, but shield block should not be an issue at all to keep up. No, I'm standing too much in front. I am lacking rage a bit now because I'm playing Instigate because it's a tyrannical week and I didn't want to change just for this video. I do still play Instigate in all keys actually. What you can do is you can fill in with stuns. If it's a boss fight, you could fill in with Stormbolt or Shockwave if you don't need it for any adds. It's not much damage, but it's something, right? Basically as simple as that. Okay, so earlier I was talking about your offensive mitigation, but now we'll go over to defensive mitigation for this as well, and which is going to be a custom due to, well, first of all, what key level it is, how much damage you're taking, what your gear is, and so forth. But let's consider bosses mostly. For example, let's say you're under heavy amounts of damage and it's single target. You've got rotations to do. We can take something that a lot of people struggle with would be Kokia Blaze-Hoof. So what you can do here is you can first of all on Inferno, it's going to spawn an ad is going to be spawned. It's going to cast Inferno, and once Inferno is done, it's going to come Searing Blows at you. So Inferno is a magical damage debuff, which you can mitigate with magical damage debuff, but also initial damage. So you can use Spell Block against it as well as Spell Reflect. So I would always use Spell Reflect on top of that. And then I would also you should also probably shield wall the last second before the cast goes off, and then you would have it up for the entire duration of the searing blows as well. Not for the entire bleed duration though necessarily. With that, it's hard to say. You can probably save shield wall until he starts casting searing blows. That's what I usually do. I spell reflect and spell block the Inferno, at least spell reflect, right? And use demo shot at the start of the fight for damage. But so add spawns, Inferno, you spell reflect and spell block, then she starts casting searing blows, and then you shield wall that. So might cast Inferno again, which should not really be a big issue though. Shouldn't finish that cast ideally. Add spawns again, you will have shield wall on CD. This is why you're playing impenetrable wall, because you will have it up for each second add then at least. So second time you ideally throw out Demo Shout and you spell effect the Inferno, put Demo Shout on the boss, and you're ready with Last Stand, Damage Pot or Health Pot, or Stoneform for me example, or a trinket that you've got, but at least Demo Shout, right? You want to if you're playing with an Invoker healer, they can also dispel the bleed debuff that is left on you, but you want to basically rotate Demo Shout and shield wall on the searing blows. Like first searing blow is shield wall, second one is Demo Shout, third one shield wall, fourth one Demo Shout, so forth, so forth. It's actually a big deal to have Stoneform here though, or to just use Blazebinder's Hoof, or just anything that can help you. Rally, Last Stand, anything. But you don't really want to use Demo Shout for damage here purely. Let's take another example of bosses. Well, Kuraka should not be an issue. Let's take Meladrusa for example. She's a rough one. If you at higher keys, or if you have comparable damage, so the boss fights would be just as long, I would start off with shield wall, because we get that reset back up, right? So I start off with shield wall, then as soon as shield wall runs out, I spell block, and then we should have the whelp phase, which you should not have an issue in. After the whelp phase, you should have shield wall up more than fine. You should have shield wall up, but you also want to use reflect on CD, more or less on CD. But I would just use shield wall and spell block on CD to mitigate as much damage as possible. So shield wall, spell block, and spell effect. Demo Shout as well. Demo Shout is just as much for damage here as it's not. But I wouldn't probably not use shield wall and Demo Shout at the same time. There are times where she casts the Frost Overload. No, sorry. Chill Storm on the side, and you're going to get dragged and dragged and dragged, and when it finishes it deals quite a bit of damage. At the same time, you're going to get a Frigid Shard thrown at you, so I also usually try to spell effect that one, or make sure I have a Victory Rush available to top myself up if I don't have any extra mitigation going on. But in most keys you will be more than fine. Keep your Ignore Pain up and rotate shield wall, Demo Shout, and then spell block some bosses like Courier for example. You rotate shield wall, spell block. If you fuck up, you can use spell reflect and Demo Shout as just as strong as shield wall. And Last Stand for panics. About it. And well, I guess considering defensive rotations, we have to consider the healers as well. If you go over to Druid healers, they've got not Bark Skin, Iron Bark it's called, which is a 20% damage reduction. I usually call for that on, let's say, Courier and Blaze Hoof. I would call for that on the second one, together with Demo Shout. But if you have like an Evoker, he's going to be able to remove every other bleed. So you would shield wall first one, Demo Shout second one, and the Evoker would remove the bleed. You've got, you know, just consider whatever defensives your healer has and you rotate shield wall around that, because for most boss mechanics you're going to have shield wall up for one and then the healers for the other, or yours and then yours again.